Hey, good morning. Tyson Fury here, reminding you that if you even think about protesting this coronation, the Metropolitan Police can and probably will arrest you. Hey, good morning. I know I said before that I would show you this pedal board that I've managed to get together. Basically, the pedal board is in a constant state of flux. So every time I got round to just documenting it, I changed something out on it, and then I changed something in it, and then I redid the signal chain, everything. So I'm going to just bite the bullet and show you where it is currently, but do be aware that it is in a current state of flux. But that said, I am quite happy with it. Also, I may have one or two other projects that have just crept up in between me putting up my last video, literally days after I put up my last video. A project sort of fell into my lap, and I've been working on that, and I'm really excited to finish it. But yeah, I just quickly want to show you this pedal board, show you kind of what it sounds like and how I can get a really cool nu metal Korn Deftones kind of sound out of essentially what is budget pedals. So yeah, let's have a look. Okay, now if I'm going to talk about this pedal board, probably the best place to start is with the actual board itself. So this pedal board that you see here is actually made out of four things. The bottom piece is a piece of very thin plyboard that I bought from B&Q, and the top are three panels of laminate flooring testers. Like, you can go into B&Q, and if you are thinking about laying laminate flooring in your house, you can buy these very small panels that cost about £2 each. It's not vinyl, it's like a wood finish, and you can actually feel the grain on it. It's really nice. And it's clipped together. So I bought three of these small little pieces that, again, you would just test by laying it around and see if it matches your decor and see if it matches your furniture or whatnot. Clipped them together and glued them using wood glue to the plyboard at the bottom, clipped together. Then rounded off the edges so all the edges are nice and round, painted the side black, and I have a really nice pedal board. Also, there is a rectangle cut out on the underside. There is actually a recessed rectangle, and that's so I can actually sit this pedal board on top of the amp and it won't slide anywhere. Actually, the handle of the amp works like a clip, and the pedal board sits on top of it so it doesn't slide off. The next thing is the power supply. So power supply here, K-Line power. Like I said, I'm a massive fan of K-Line. The Wonderland is amazing. The Tantrum, which I'll get to, again, amazing. I'm a huge fan of K-Line. They also make really good, really cheap power supplies. However, it doesn't have an off and on switch. So like any like if you've got a controller cable for your Xbox or your PlayStation, every time you plug it in and pull it out, plug it in, pull it out, you're just counting down the moments until you have a broken cable or a broken socket, something like that. So what I did, I went into, I think it was Hobbycraft, and bought a stamp for Christmas cards. So this white box originally was a little bit bigger, and what you would do is put a piece of paper in and push down on it, and it would make, like, I think it was like snowflakes or something. Anyway, ripped all the insides out, and now I have a really nice white box into which I have put a input jack, and then I soldered in a switch, and then the switch comes out to a wire which goes into a right angle, which goes into the DC in. What that means is that I'm no longer, every time I want to use the pedal board, plugging in a pedal board, unplugging a pedal board, plugging in a pedal board. It's just going to lead to failure. So now it just sits into this switch that I built, and by clicking it on, board comes to life. So that's what that bit in the middle is. It's literally just a power switch that I built on the quick so that everything could be powered with one switch, essentially, and I wouldn't have to keep plugging things in and out. As far as the signal chain goes, we'll start from the beginning, work our way to the amp. First things first, as is per usual, you have a tuner. Again, nothing fancy, just a cheap tuner. This one, though, does have flats. So if I want to do fine tuning for like down tuned, like my Ibanez is in drop C sharp. So that's really handy for that. It allows me to down tune really easily. From the tuner, we're currently going into the pitch shifter. Now, I've experimented with this before and after the distortion. I kind of like it where it is at the minute. I don't know why. It just sounds better here. It's not, again, not the greatest pitch shifter in the world, but it works. You've got 2 whole octaves in either direction, so you can have a whole octave up, and you can have 2 whole octaves up or down at the flick of a switch. So this is pitch shift up, this is pitch shift down, and then you have like a D tune in the middle. You've got your wet, so you can have it completely mixed, or you can have it completely on its own, which is what it is here. So at the moment, this is set to pitch shift up 1 octave, and it's just the wet signal. I've got no like original signal going in at all, because again, I'm just mucking around with it. This is a toy. This is something for me to play with. It's fun. I can do like the Seven Nation Army riff, or I can do Tom Morello stuff with this. It's a lot of fun, and you know, relatively cheap. Again, none of this stuff is super expensive, but yeah. So that is the pitch shifter. Then that comes down into the Tantrum. Now this is an amazing pedal. This is genuinely an amazing distortion pedal. Kind of what it is a copy of the thing that you've probably already seen, and I will get to later, but I love this thing. Anyway, it's kind of a copy of that, but it does have a boost on it. Now, the Korn sound and the Deftones, like the early Deftones sound, is kind of built into this. Like, that's what this thing does, and it does it really well. Boosters, obviously, if you're going to do leads. I don't do leads, I don't do solos, I'm not doing any of that while playing like Korn or Deftones. What I use that for is to separate the low lows and the high highs. By putting on the boost pedal, you can really sort of get a more dynamic sound. So if you're swapping, going like Korn does, they go low and then widdly widdly and then low and then high and then low and then high. This really defines it. It doesn't compress it all into one. You can get a really, really wide sound with that. So I normally keep both on, unless I'm mixing it with the other pedals. I'll keep both on if I just want a distortion sound. From the Tantrum, we are going into the Doom. Now, the Doom pedal used to be a Behringer SF300, I think they're called. But this is a pedal that does one thing. This is a one-trick pony, but that trick is very, very good. Basically, this is a almost a carbon copy of an old Boss like fuzz pedal, and it is amazing. Like, it is that Doom sound. If you love Doom metal, which I do, this is that sound. So what I did is I just took a paint pen to it. That's paint on top. Just gave it a little bit of flair, because the SF300 sounds very, very sterile for what this thing does, and it is just insane, this pedal. Again, this also comes with a boost, which I never really use. You've got Fuzz 1, which is a little bit more bassy, and Fuzz 2, which is way more sort of like trebly, top-endy. I love this thing. It's really cool. But if you combine it with another pedal, which I'll get to, man, what a combination. So yeah, that's the Doom pedal. Love it. Behringer SF300, I think it is. Brilliant. The graphic EQ. Now, most people will have a graphic EQ for one reason, and that is just to color sound. That's essentially what this thing is doing. This is the way to combine all of your sounds into one easy setup. So I set all of the pedals where I kind of like them, and then I use the graphic EQ to kind of bring everything together. It's kind of like a dog walker holding leashes to all these dogs that want to go in wildly different directions. This is the sort of like the dog walker that's holding them, reining them all in. This is literally a lifesaver. I can get basically any sound out of any pedal I want with this, with usually just, I mean, at the moment it's just scooped mids, because again, Korn. I cannot stress how important a part of this pedal board this is. Equally, noise gate, not very necessary. Now, the Tantrum does kick out a bit of noise. The Doom pedal also kicks out a bit of noise, a little bit of hum.
but nothing that you would really need this for in a room environment. Like in a living room, bedroom playing environment, you don't really need this. However, what I use this for is if I'm playing like a lot of staccato bits, or something that needs like lots of like very rapid palm muting, I will use this because you don't get that sort of like weird hum in between. The gate doesn't shut super fast on this because, again, it's a budget pedal, but it has got nice artwork. Like, it's got the Grim Reaper and kind of like a Lord of the Rings kind of text underneath. Like, I'm not quite sure what the picture's supposed to be for a little Chinese knockoff pedal, but I really like it. It works kind of well. Again, for what I paid for it, it works pretty well. Then going into the Wonderland, if I had 100 of these and they all broke, I would buy 101. Like, I could never not be with this pedal. I think it's easily some of the greatest money I have ever spent. I can't believe it's as cheap as it is and sounds as good as it is. Ambient reverb machine really, really doesn't do this thing justice. It is so much fun, and you can get such a wide variety of sounds out of just 3 knobs. Very, very rarely will I flick on this pedal board and not at some point turn everything off, just leaving on the EQ and the Wonderland just to have a play with it. This thing is so much fun. But like I said, when you combine the Doom pedal with the Wonderland pedal, magic things happen. So this on its own is great, and it's really good for Doom metal, and it really does Doom metal well. And this is really good for like weird ambient, reverby, ooh, it sounds ethereal and kind of spooky noises. But if you mix the two, amazing things happen. Amazing things. And I will show you. This up here is a foot switch which I have modded. So it used to be the channel selector for the amp, like the little practice amp I've got. But what I did is I actually turned it into, you can see there, I soldered in a socket, so the switch now goes to a socket, and then I soldered in wires, which I can either use as a channel selector, or if I'm using one of my multi-effects pedals, I can use it as a piano foot switch. So I can use it essentially as a foot switch for either the amp, or, because again, without having to move pedals and, take them off and put them back on, I can just unplug it, plug in a multi-effects, and now I have a foot switch for a multi-effects. So it's multiple use now. Next to that is pedal that gets the worst rep. And there are, if you type in into YouTube, my God, how many hits will you get? It's one of the most talked about pedals of all time. I bought this pedal in the late 90s. Must have been like 98 or 99. I think I bought this. I paid full price. I think I bought it in Denmark Street. Everyone was laughing at it. Like, they were laughing at it in the store that I went into. They were like, this thing's trash, this thing's this, that, and the other. And then, someone was playing it. Like, there was this kid down the back end who was playing it. And I thought it sounded great. Like, I thought it really, really, really sounded good. And the reason I thought it sounded good is because inside this pedal, you have the Around the Fur album by Deftones. By literally just playing with the settings on top, which you can see, again, I've painted in with a paint pen. You can get Around the Fur out of this pedal, and with a few little tweaks, you can get Adrenaline out of that pedal pretty much instantly. Like, the Metal Zone, it's great. I mean, is it the best pedal in the world? No. But still, like, it's the Deftones. Like, you plug it in, and it's Deftones. That's what that pedal does. And it does it really, really well. Always has. It is just one of my favourite pedals. The Metal Zone by Boss. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic pedal. So that's the signal chain. It goes in through here, down here, through through, and then this is an option. Like you can probably see, I've got this cable going into the input, so I can actually swap it in with the Wonderland and have the out, instead of the out going from the Wonderland to the amp, the out can go from the Metal Zone to the amp. This is already plugged into the amp. Let me take you to it. So the amp itself is over here. Now, I had recently a giant sort of like Kallax unit full of hundreds of PlayStation games and Xbox games and PS1 games and PS2 games and PS3 games. And it was really, really cool. And I really, really liked it. But I also like being married. So I had to maybe scale down my collection, not by selling it off, but maybe not have 400 games on display at all time in a light up box. And currently we have a bunch of PS2 stuff and my Xbox stuff's behind it, PS3. These are project controllers that I've built. So the wireless, the USB modded PS1, blood splatters. We've got various Raspberry Pis. We've got the Bop It, got the PS2, got my Wreck-It Ralph, got this little one, got my promo discs, all this stuff, which I really, really like. But down here is the amp. Now, the amp doesn't actually get pulled out. It stays in there. And the pedal board, the cables from the pedal board go here underneath this pelmet, the balcony pelmet, like underneath the carpet, and come out through the back of this cabinet, because the cabinet has a back on. And then I've just run the cables over the top. So it's all wired up and ready to go, basically. Up the top here, we have a little digital 4-track recorder, and then, I don't know if you can see, but back there, we have a drum machine. So we've got my little digital 4-track recorder, which I can also use as a mixer. Here I have a kitchen tidy with cables, spare strings, spare 9 volts. I've got some lemon oil, some fast fret, string winder, another 9-volt battery, and all of the plectrums that I will ever need. And that is the entire signal chain. And obviously, again, kept nice and tidy. I like to keep it fairly clean, so volume is on, what is that, on like 2, 3. Bass and treble, basically 12 o'clock. And then if I need to change anything, I would rather change it from here, because it means that I'm not getting up and then constantly walking over to the amp and then changing it on the amp and then coming back. And now this is a bit, wonky, and then this doesn't quite sound right. I'll just do it all from here. So this is basically like a console. Again, if I pull the amp out and I want to move the amp somewhere else, I can always put the pedal board either on the floor, or because there's a notch cut into the underside. Let me see if I can show you actually. So there's a notch cut into the underside. That notch there sits on the handle on the amp, and I even put these like bars on the top, so it sits completely flush to the amp. And if my nephew comes over and he bangs into it or knocks it, the pedal board won't go flying and it won't hurt him. It will just sit locked into the top. So yeah, that is my signal chain. So yeah, how about we hear what this thing sounds like? Okay, so I'm going to give you a very, very quick overview, like a soundscape of what the combination of the pedal board and the guitar can do together. Be aware that even though I do have a mic pointed at the amplifier, once it's been compressed and uploaded to YouTube and streamed through the internet, it's not going to sound the same. What I'm hearing in the room isn't what you're hearing, but it's the best I can do with what I've got at the minute. So, starting with just the clean tones from the pickup, here is where we are. Let's start on the neck pickup. As you can see, all the pedals are off. Like every single pedal is off so far. It's just running clean through. So, starting with the neck pickup. That, to me, doesn't sound like a £15 neck pickup. That sounds really, really good for the money. Is it the best pickup in the world? No. But it's still really good. Now, the thing with these Warman pickups is if you dig in, like really dig in, they do start to break up. Remembering that the amp is on 2, bass, treble, 12 o'clock. So, as you know, play gently but dig in a little bit harder, and they do start to break up a little. Again, that's not the pedal board, that's just the pickups. Switching to, see at the minute I'm on the neck pickup. By switching to the middle, so again, it doesn't have a tone knob, but just by blending the volumes, because again, the volume for the neck is here, the volume for the bridge is here, just by blending the volumes with the selector in the middle position, you can kind of get different tones without a tone knob. So with, you know, both on max, it kind of has a like a Strat Telecaster kind of sound. It is very Fendery, but again, just by adjusting the volumes, you can definitely get like different tones just by, you know, doing the volume. By switching to the bridge pickup, this is where it starts getting a bit crazy. So again, much more dynamic, very gentle, and it sounds like a bridge pickup. Start to dig in a little bit, and it really does break up. This thing really wants gain. Like, this thing is crying out for distortion. So let's give it a little bit. So again, going back to the pedal board, over here we have the tantrum pedal. What I'm going to do is layer it up from one side to the other and then show you the reverb and whatnot after. Let's, remembering that the EQ and the noise gate is off, let's start the with the tantrum on just the distortion channel. You can already hear it is kicking out a little bit of hum, like it is just humming somewhat. Let's turn the noise gate on. Dead silent. Again, cheap noise gate does the job. So we are on the bridge pickup, and I'm just going to do my very like foundation level corn tone. It's getting there, but it's like I said, foundation level. Let's add another layer. So this is the boost pedal, and then remembering what this does is it makes the lows low and the highs high. So just by adding that, it kind of widens out the sound a little bit. Definitely getting there. What I'm going to add on top of that is the EQ. So once I click on the EQ, now it's going to sort of scoop those mids out even lower, add more lows and add more highs, and you get this. To me, that is a pretty good tone for Follow the Leader, the Issues album. I mean, again, I don't know what you're hearing. Maybe what you're hearing is something completely different, but in the room, that is pretty close to that tone on the album. I am super happy with that. I mean, and even like the later albums. It's there. And then, like I was saying before, with the pickups desperately wanting pinched harmonics. Like, if you give it to them, it really, I mean, or like something like so a standard note, standard, you know, pluck note, give it a pinched harmonic. It loves pinched harmonics. These things are insane. I guess all those Henrys are just like, all the Henrys are coming together like the Avengers and just pumping. I ain't gonna pretend I know what a Henry is. Anyway, so that is the basic corn tone that I can get from here. And just by changing some of the settings, like, you can get a really good Deftone sound. It's really geared towards one kind of thing, and that is my nu metal tone. So this guitar, these pickups, these settings, these, you know, pedals here, I think I'm there. I'm happy with that. I can get that tone from budget pedals and budget pickups and a budget guitar. I'm happy. As a quick aside, let's turn off the Tantrum, turn on the Doom pedal. Sounds like doom metal. And then I've already made a video about this one, but I'm just going to put on the Wonderland pedal. I think the Wonderland pedal is, again, I've said it before, but it's so good. Here's the thing though, if you combine the Doom pedal and the Wonderland pedal, you get the Blade Runner soundtrack, and I am not joking. I mean, how much fun is that? I've been playing with that for hours. Tons of fun. So yeah, that's my basic setup. The only other thing on here at the minute is the pitch shifter pedal, which when combined with something like so this is just that's just the Tantrum. That's just the Tantrum on its own with no boost. Here's the pitch shifter, just the wet signal. So that's up an octave, and then you can go up 2 octaves. All that Tom Morello stuff, great. And then, even without that on, because I've got the 2 independent volumes, so one for the neck, one for the bridge, you can completely mute one, turn on the other, and you got a kill switch. So Tom Morello. So again, as a toy, this thing is a ton of fun. You can play with everything on here. It's great. And for a really low, you know, really low barrier to entry. You don't have to buy it all at the same time. And for what it's worth, I think it sounds great. Like, I think all of this sounds great. I think this guitar, once it's been, you know, properly, you know, set up and the wiring done properly and the grounding done on it and the isolation done on it, the pickups changed, it sounds a lot, but it doesn't have to cost the earth. The pedal board as well, like with the pedals, you know, that I've got on here, they don't have to cost the earth, and they sound great. You really do not need to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds to get a really good nu metal tone. I've managed to do it for a relatively low amount of money. Am I going to change the pedal board? Probably. Like, if I can find something, you know, to go here, then yeah, I am going to resolder all these power cables and make them all tidy and neat once I've, you know, finalised the board. But I think for the most part, what I've got here is pretty good, pretty solid, and I'm very happy with it. So yeah, that's basically it for this project. I have got 2 more guitar projects that I'm working on right now. One I've already showed you, it's the mini guitar. I'm going to try and put in some kind of effects circuit, like a travel guitar. The other one is very new to me. Like, new to me, but not new. As a little... Have I got it here? Yeah, I do. As a little heads up, or as a little taster, it involves this. This rusty knackered circuit here, hang on, can you see it? There you go. This rusty knackered circuit here is from about 1963. That's what I'm working on right now. So yeah, hopefully that'll be the next thing I show you. Alright, cool. Peace.